The Punch TV.
Bafsin Green Construction and Trading at Bama Ghana for. Say Juma Kwedu and Juma Fatason. And to say your hotel, school, hospital, bank, office.
Abusuafo for mama kwa baba the Punch TV, so make sure say and any first time I dey channel ya. Subscribe my like it, na share. We will so ajawa share or comment section or for my abusuafo samle amene mo kase. Story bi aba beto intentan video no so. Ama ye twene sele ne abasa. Obi e kasa fa ho abusuafo samre. Wonka me ho ne yenkohwe video no emla.
The Punch TV.
Ye ba beka.
Well, when we find a situation in which people who support an 80-year-old president begin to raise issues about a 71, 72, 73-year-old vice presidential candidate, then there's a problem. And the problem is reducible only to male chauvinism. And male chauvinism, in essence, is anti-woman. I think at that point has to be made quite clearly. You understand? I was really surprised, over the last 2 days and so on. I heard people make comments to the effect that whoever has been selected as running mate for the National Democratic Congress is problematic because the person who has been selected is a 73-year-old menopausal woman. That's a display of extreme backwardness. And beyond being a display of extreme backwardness and the height of male chauvinism and so on, it is also anti-development to the extent that we live in a country in which 52% of the total national population is made up of women. The denial of women's right to participate in the national development effort is clearly anti-development, and we need to recognize that. So if you listen to people, if you listen to constituencies, if you listen to political parties and so on, what they say betrays who they truly are. And the debate about the outdooring of Professor J. Naana Opoku-Agyeman has given us the opportunity to see the different constituencies, and I'm not talking about Ayawaso West and so on, I'm talking about different constituencies and how these different constituencies react to the gender question, they react to the development model and so on. I mean, it's so very revealing for me, and I think that it is good that it is revealing. The other thing I'd like to talk about is just the Splendor. I mean, many events have happened at the venue before and so on. I was not there. I watched on television. And the Splendor was remarkable. The arrangement, the choreography and so on. I don't know who was responsible for that. But whoever was responsible for that deserves tons of commendation because it added to it all. The arrangements, everything came up so very nicely. Now, I would, in all honesty, consider Chairman Asidu Nketiah's statement as a down. I do not disagree with him. The clamor for positions is irrational. And I said here before he said what he said, you remember that people were beginning to count their chickens before they are hatched. You remember? So in essence, there is some merit in what he said. The problem is the occasion. Wrong platform, wrong occasion. This is the outdooring of the vice presidential candidate. People want to see or hear what she has in store. What kind of a vice presidential candidate is she going to be and so on? Is this the moment to stand up and look Ghanaians in the face and say, hey, my people, instead of even preparing to win elections, they've started fighting for positions and so on. It's a down. It was a wrong occasion. When I heard it, I cringed. That is not the place for this kind of talk. What he said may be a true observation. I agree with him that this clamoring for positions and so on, it's nauseating. I agree with him. But I would have thought that a better occasion would have been an inner party discussion. Not on a platform like this. Inner party discussion. And in fact, as national chairman of the party, he ought to be able to put in place mechanisms to prevent this madness that is rearing its head within the party. And sometimes it finds expression in the media. And I wonder what it is intended to achieve. So that's one of the downs that I saw with this otherwise splendid, ceremony. Now, I've heard many people say that, oh, this is a different Naana Opoku-Agyeman. We've never seen her like that and so on. Well, for those of us who have known her over a very long period of time, this is the real Professor Naana Opoku-Agyeman. And I've been talking about what first impressed me about her. And it was when she delivered the first Kwame Nkrumah Memorial Lectures in the University of Cape Coast. And I saw
Bafsin Green Construction and Trading Abama Ghana for. Say Jumakwedu and Juma Fatason. And to say your hotel, school, hospital, bank, offices, and the Westie. Now Pobiam and to Mutas amount there. And then I may come for Bafsin Green Construction and Trading at the amount. Obuan was in down a won't you. Emane ha crampo, and Posabro train hour. No, so West Sufia or Ghana now Pobiam and to Mutas amount there. And then I may come for Bafsin Green Construction and Trading at the amount. The Yanni so benny muji dear. Your 2 bathroom tiles, compound tiles, swimming pool tiles, kitchen tiles, and in Yakaka. Then it is summer woman said, so pass Seattle. Now do location Maya. Then Yan say Ghana, ye benya be the amount. Na yan juicy candy, yan dada, said Uncle for be the young crofobino. A sunset task would you make any dintino, yet on cement, natural stones, tile cement, slabs, marble tiles, and nobody lay a sign so a supply. A sancy of Juma Hotel, not swear need to know. Ye were abiding cracks are a certificate, a treasure your fat entity. Obetini a friend whom a true for so 0505 62 68 23 0505 62 68 23. Oba we breaku. Waja edekwa wini ba quantum pona so. Bafsin Green Construction and Trading. We do it just the way you love it.
But in the audience, and I said, this woman has something. The brilliance, the articulation, the eloquence, even to some extent, you may be tempted to say visionary. And I'm very cautious about how I use my words, and that's why I'm saying that even to some extent, you may be tempted to see her as a visionary. She was in total command of the space. No doubt at all, she was in total command of the space. She was the centerpiece of the ceremony. No doubt at all about it. Okay? Her diction was perfect. And I'm not surprised people refer to her as a literature professor. The diction was carefully selected and it made the right impact. I believe that her description of the current situation was apt. You understand? And indeed, some of the people in the crowd should have been ashamed of themselves listening to her. Because one of the things that she did which impressed me most was this attack on tribalism. Some people call it ethnocentricity. That is dignifying it. It is pure raw tribalistic nonsense. And it is continuing even today. If you want to choose somebody, she has to be Ashanti. She has to come from Northern region. She has to be this and that. This is Kwame Nkrumah's Ghana. And she attacked it in a manner which was perfect. Said ethnicity has now been elevated to the level of intellectualism. Master, do you know why it has been raised to the level of intellectualism? Because the people who do it, they think they are doing science. You understand? If you hear them, the stronghold of the MPPs in the Ashanti region, this is the number of goals they got in 20 something and something. So if you don't select an Ashanti, you lose. I mean, they clothe it as if it is science. It is not science. It is pure tribalistic nonsense. And there was a lot of that. First of all, in the campaign against John Mahama. And there was a lot of that in the juggling for selection of somebody as running mate. And I heard somebody, actually big man in the party and so on, say, look, the Volta region is our stronghold, so we have to select the running mate from the Volta region. All kinds of reasons, childish reasons and so on. You understand? Now, Massa, Ghana is not an island in the world and so on. Ghana is part of the global community. That's what I'm saying. Ghana is part of a global community. In Poland, two brothers, one was the president and one was the prime minister. They were all elected by the Polish people. The fact of their being brothers did not detract to their history of struggle and their perceived commitment to the nation. A brother, two brothers, one president, one prime minister in Poland. In Cuba, who replaced Fidel?
A brother.
Raul, his brother. The Cubans had no problems with that. And they had no problems with that because both Fidel and Raul were in the Sierra Maestar. They fought together to liberate Cuba from the tentacles of US hegemony and build a new Cuba which had the best educational system in the world, which had the best healthcare system in the world. The fact of their being brothers did not matter. In Nicaragua is even, that's out of this world. The president's wife is the vice president in Nicaragua. And I can go on and on and on and on. Now, the people who were playing these tribal politics and so on, you will be surprised. Some of them actually admire the system of monarchy in Britain. What is that system? The bloodline determines who becomes head of state. They have no problem with that. They admire that. But here, they are engaged in tribal politics, and so on. I get sick. So sometimes I ask myself, all of these things, election of president, selection of vice president, and so on, what is the purpose? Because if you focus on the purpose, you would not make some of these silly statements that are being made all over the place. Focus on the purpose. What is the purpose? One, simple, to make sure that all of our 32 million people have access to potable water. So that people are not infected with guinea worm and so on. That's a purpose. Two, to make sure that people have access to decent housing. Three, to improve national infrastructure so that when the poor farmer grows his cassava in the rural community, that cassava can be moved to the buying center so that the cassava does not rot on the farm. You understand what I'm saying?
Yama owi akwa baba Mansa Media College. Mansa Media College a school power ya TV so any radio so dwumadie ya suye e wo Kumase atonsu baby a uwo bia opese ba Mansa Media College na be hu dwumadie yedi ni honmo a yentie dwumadie yedi no Mansa Media College
se usua bribi wo media mu ana opese ohunu bribi biara efa media ho enso eche kra
Mansa Media College e wo homa
ye wa achechefo a wa kwadiri yie wa adetwemu na in studio ni ye newsroom de editwam wonsam twemu no ye twe bribi ti se kasebo akenkan ni sinitwa ni bebura ekeka ho wa multimedia mu nso ye twe bribi ti se sini mfoni asiesie mfoni nitwa ni bebura ekeka ho ye betumi nso aboa ama wo de na otwepe asunya bribi wo nkitahudie adwuma ahodo nyinaamu esanse ye wo yankasa foni nti abwe biara ye ma ya adesuafo kwan ma okọ yode ya twe won adesua dan mu no
ahwefo ehu ekame ese obi biara wo le bosomtwe ase enim abakosema efa nsuo ihu menya abofra ketewa bi wo ha ono so se onim abakosema efa le bosomtwe ho
abusuafo ye mama kwaba eba Ghana Pages TV so emra so se the trending issues near koso ewo abe for time fidie ni so ebe somo mi din na eje wa akode
Mansa Media College ya ma o de we hia bia wo nkotahudie mu